one dive that will always remain a vivid memory is that on the B-17 bomber lying off Cape Vogel in Papua New Guinea. Lying in 50 metres of water on a sandy bottom, surrounded by an amphitheatre of coral, the story highlights the struggle which took place in those dark days of the Pacific War. The history of the aircraft is well documented. In July 1943, the aircraft took off from 11 Mile Airstrip, what is now the International Airport, to attack the Japanese to the north in Rabaul. She experienced engine problems before the attack took place, but continued on to complete the mission and then proceeded to limp back to Port Moresby. The weather in PNG is notoriously unpredictable, and she became lost and disoriented in the thunderstorms which developed during the flight back. Running out of fuel, the pilot was forced to ditch the bomber into the sea when he broke through the clouds to clear visibility just off the coast of Cape Vogel. The story of the crew's rescue by natives from a local village is related by the pilot himself in the film Blackjack's Last Mission. The plane was relocated 43 years later by Rod Pearce, a local diver, historian and charter boat operator, and it is from Rod's vessel, Barbarian 2, that I found myself exploring the site in 1995. The aircraft remains basically intact, apart from the removable guns and equipment, which was jettisoned prior to ditching in an attempt to prevent them becoming lethal missiles on impact. The fabric, which once covered the control surfaces, was long rotted away, leaving the skeletal remains of a distinctive tail pointing towards the surface. Ammunition still remains in the rear gunner's magazine, and amazingly, the guns which they fed still move freely in their mountings. The wings seemed to be out of proportion to the rest of the aircraft. Not only did they have to support the engines and payload, but also acted as fuel tanks. And even with their massive size, it was often difficult to obtain enough lift in the light density of tropical air to get the aircraft airborne. The B-17 was also known as the Flying Fortress due to the number of defensive guns it carried, and one pair of these was installed in a ball turret underneath the fuselage. Typically, in a sea ditching, the turret was forced upwards, breaking the aircraft's back. An inspection by divers around the centre of the fuselage proved that to be the case in this instance too. Just forward of the break you can also see the empty compartments where the life rafts had been launched after the ditching. As the aircraft is lying in 50 metres of water, little time was available for a thorough inspection, and although I managed to dive the wreck twice, it was still only an overview that I came away with, and the image of it lying on the sand as we departed has lingered in my brain ever since. Indeed, it was a privilege to dive Black Jack, however brief the encounter.